There's a feeling every racing driver knows. You finish a practice session and look at the leaderboard. Your lap time is there. The car feels comfortable. You feel connected. Everything is working exactly how it should. You know you have the pace. Then qualifying starts. Suddenly, the same corners you were taking confidently become a challenge. You brake too late. You miss apexes you normally hit. You push harder, but somehow the lap time gets worse. And the most frustrating part is, nothing has changed. The car's the same, the track's the same. You are the same driver. So why does your fastest lap disappear when it matters most? Before we get into why this happens, I want to know something. Have you ever set the best lap in practice, then completely lost that pace the moment qualifying started? Let me know in the comments, because I think almost every driver has experienced this at some point. Because the truth is, most drivers don't lose qualifying pace because they suddenly become slower. They lose it because their mindset changes. And sometimes the biggest thing stopping you from setting your fastest lap isn't the car underneath you. It's the person driving it.
Nothing.
This is one of the strangest parts of racing. You can spend an entire session building confidence. You learn the car, you understand the grip, the braking points become natural, the corners, they start flowing together. You stop thinking about every individual input and you simply drive. This is when racing feels effortless. But then qualifying arrives. Suddenly the lap has meaning. Every corner feels more important. Every mistake feels more expensive. The goal changes from exploring the limit to proving what you can do. And that small mental shift changes everything. Because instead of allowing the lap to happen naturally, you start trying to force it, and that is where your qualifying pace starts disappearing. Welcome to Sabotage, the psychology of racing. The first way drivers destroy their qualifying pace is by chasing the perfect lap. There's a belief that every fastest lap is created by pushing everything to the absolute maximum. The latest possible braking, the highest possible corner speed, and the most aggressive throttle application. But racing doesn't work like that. The fast lap isn't created by having every corner at 100%. It's created by having every corner under control. The moment you start chasing perfection, your brain changes. You stop focusing on the driving, you start searching for mistakes. You miss the apex slightly and immediately think, I've lost time. So the next corner becomes a chance to recover, so you brake later and you carry too much speed. You try to force the car to make back the time you think you've lost. But the problem is, that corner was never the problem. Your reaction was. One small mistake becomes a chain reaction that destroys the rest of the lap. The fastest drivers understand something different. A qualifying lap isn't about creating something special, it's about repeating something that already works. The second way drivers destroy qualifying pace is by confusing aggression with speed. It feels logical. If you want to go faster, you push harder. But every car has a performance window. A point where everything just works together. The tyres are performing, the balance feels predictable, your inputs are smooth. Inside that window, the car feels easy. But once you go beyond it, things start breaking down. The tyres, they lose performance, and the car just becomes unpredictable. Your movements become reactions instead of decisions. You're no longer placing the car exactly where you want it, but you're trying to catch what the car is doing. And this is where many drivers misunderstand the limit. They believe being on the limit should feel aggressive, but the fastest laps usually don't feel dramatic. They feel calm, and they feel controlled. They feel like everything is happening exactly when it should. The difference between being fast and overdriving is often only a few percent, but that small difference is where qualifying laps are won and lost. The biggest battle in qualifying often isn't against the track, it's against your own expectations. The moment you think, I need this lap, everything changes. Your attention moves away from the process and towards the outcome. You start thinking about the lap time, you start watching the delta, and you start calculating where you need to gain time. But your brain cannot fully commit to the corner you're driving if it's already worried about the result. You stop feeling the car and you start analysing it. You stop reacting naturally and you start forcing decisions. This is why some of your best laps happen when you aren't thinking about lap times. You're not chasing, you're just driving. The fastest drivers don't remove pressure, they control where attention goes. They don't think, I need to set my best lap. They think, brake here, hit this apex, and complete this corner. They focus on the things they can control. And the lap times becomes the result of that process. One of the most interesting things about qualifying is how often a driver's first competitive lap is their best. And there's a psychological reason behind it. The first lap is usually driven with freedom. No expectation, no pressure, and nothing to protect. You're just simply exploring, you're finding where the limit is. But once you see the lap time, something changes. Now there's a target, and there's something to beat, and there's definitely something to lose. And suddenly, the lap becomes a test. You're no longer driving to be fast, you're driving to avoid failure. Confidence in racing isn't believing you're always the best. Confidence is trusting your ability even when the outcome isn't guaranteed. So how do you stop yourself from destroying your own qualifying lap? The first step is understanding that qualifying is not where you find speed. It's where you reveal it. Your preparation creates the pace. Your mindset allows you to access it. Before a qualifying lap, focus on these 3 things. First, stop chasing the lap time. Focus on execution, the braking point, the steering input, and your throttle application. The small decisions that create the performance. Second, accept mistakes. A small mistake doesn't ruin a lap, the reaction to that mistake does. The best drivers can make a mistake and immediately move forward. They don't carry one corner into the next. And finally, trust yourself. The driver who sets the fast practice lap is still the same driver during qualifying. You haven't suddenly become slower. You've just added pressure to a situation where you're already capable. The goal isn't to become faster when qualifying starts. The goal is to stay the same driver. The biggest mistake drivers make in qualifying is believing they need to create something special. They think they need to push harder and take more risks and drive beyond their ability. But the fastest laps rarely come from forcing something that isn't there. They come from removing the things that prevent you from accessing your potential, the pressure, the overthinking, the need to be perfect. Because your fastest lap is probably already inside you. The real challenge is whether your mind will allow you to drive it, because speed gets you onto the leaderboard, but controlling your mind is what keeps you there. And that is the difference between being a quick driver and being a consistently fast one.